Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Fixate Binge Podcast. We are now in the month of October. So even though this is being recorded in September, you're listening to this in October. And if you haven't had your pumpkin lattes yet, it's not too late. You can still do that. I don't think there's any tariffs on pumpkin spice, so I think you're okay for now on that front. I hope everyone is having a good time. You're having a good week. There's been a lot of interesting things happening in the political world in America, and I want this space to be a space where you can go to take a break from all of that. But if you need therapy about that, can I recommend that you watch The Daily Show? I mean, Jon Stewart is doing things on The Daily Show right now in the wake of the Jimmy Kimmel cancellation that it's just therapy. That's the best therapy that we need. And comedy is such a great vehicle for that. Speaking of therapy, speaking of well-being, speaking of being in a safe place mentally, I've got an exciting guest that I'm going to bring on here in a couple minutes. He is the director and co-writer of a wonderful new film. You can catch this film right now on the Shudder app on Amazon, and I can't wait to introduce you to him. But before I do that, I just want to very briefly say that if you haven't canceled Disney Plus because of what's happened to Jimmy Kimmel, and by the way, I completely understand if you do on principle, but if you still got your Disney Plus account, spare a thought for the brilliant FX television sci-fi horror masterpiece that is the first season of Alien Earth by Noah Hawley. This thing is scaring the hell out of me. It's giving me the heebie-jeebies, and now I'm pissed that we're going to have to wait probably 2 years before we get a season 2. But it's brilliant. It is one of the finest horror sci-fi things that's ever happened on television, and you'd be a fool to miss it. But I get it if you've canceled your Disney Plus account. I understand it. Okay. But without further ado, I'm really excited to bring on my guest. His name is JC Doler. He is from originally, I believe, Atlanta, Georgia. He joins me this morning from Shreveport, Louisiana, which is the home of mosquitoes and humidity. I grew up in Houston, Texas, so I know it's pretty tough. But the food is amazing in Louisiana. There's no parallel for it, I don't think. But having said all that, welcome to the Fixate Binge Podcast, JC.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm really excited to be here.
This is awesome. I am so excited to discuss your film, The Twin. It came out this year. It's on, like I said, it's on the Shudder app. And it came up in my, films to watch. And I figured, I tend to watch a lot of indie horror, and this is right up my alley. And then I started going through the cast list. I'm all, wait a minute, I've seen some of these other people and stuff. This isn't going to be low budget at all, or low quality for that matter. So and not that I would avoid that type of stuff. Sometimes there's a space for that, and I'm okay with it. But I jumped into this film, and I was terrified. In the first scenes, I was terrified. You did something here. I'm going to shut up in just a second, but before we launch into this, JC, I want to, for our audience, I want to play the trailer for your film, The Twin, and I'm going to do that right now.
Grandma, please.
Doctor, I don't understand why this is necessary.
You just finished a 1-month stint in an institution. It's state law that you're monitored.
I'm not crazy. I've been seeing things.
Who's there? What things?
Me.
Do you know anything about his childhood?
The night your grandmother died, he pounded at my door like something was after him.
I have to-dos for you while you're here to keep you occupied. Your grandmother's portraits and the family.
Can't tell what's real anymore.
Let's try something different. Focus on the sound.
What's happening to me?
Nick read this story as a child. The sight of your fetch
Evil twin.
is an omen for coming death.
Okay, we're back. That is the trailer. I don't know about you, but I'm sufficiently spooked after seeing that trailer. And by the way, I watch trailers before I just commit 2 hours to things. And if the trailer hooks me, and yours did, then I'm game to watch the whole thing. And I wrote a review on it, and that's how we interacted. I gotta turn it over to you, JC. What was the first sparks, inklings, ideas of this film?
Yeah, so it was originally a short film that we did, that my wife and I did back in 2016, called Hangman. And you can find Hangman online. It's on YouTube, on Crafty Shorts. It's on Bloody Bites, Screenbox. So it's accessible. You can find it. And yeah, it's just a 13-minute short film about a guy stuck inside a house, and doesn't want to leave, doesn't want to take his medication, and he's haunted by himself. And that was we made that for a film competition called the Louisiana Film Prize. And it did really well. It was really successful. People loved it, and it was really low budget. I mean, our budget was like $1,000, and we loved it. And people started saying, "Hey, are you going to do anything with this? This should be a feature." And that's kind of how that got born. And that was, end of 2016. Crazy year for a lot of reasons. And so,
Yeah.
so 6 years later, we were finally able to finish raise the funds and get into a position where we felt we could actually make it. And, it became my first feature. We expanded it from there, and it blossomed into something I'm pretty happy with.
Yes, it did. I call it trauma horror. I don't think that's a spoiler, but I call it trauma horror. I don't know if that's the right nomenclature for it. I
Definitely,
watched
yeah.
it and I was it was a gut punch, to be honest with you. I was like, oh, this is hard. This is hard viewing. But from that becomes this, what I call, it's a pretty big sandbox when you take people who have been, I guess, mentally and spiritually compromised through PTSD or through something extremely traumatic, and then they become susceptible to darker forces, really. And that's where the rest of the film really takes off. But of course, and this is not a spoiler, but you go all the way back to your protagonist's childhood. And that's where I got the crap scared out of me with the early scenes. Were there any influences in this film, that directors or previous other work, that you were like, I'm kind of going for this? Obviously, you're doing your own thing, but was there any influences that were important to you when you put this together in a feature film format?
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, the biggest influence for me for this film was this 2020 Australian film called Relic. And it's a film about, I don't know if you've seen it. It's
I have.
great. It's awesome. It's about dementia, and it's just the way it handles, like, the mother-daughter relationship, and the next generation, like grandmother, mother, daughter. It's just so well handled, but it's also, like, terrifying. Old people can be terrifying,
Ooh.
and so
Yeah.
yeah, like, M. Night Shyamalan's The Visit,
Yeah.
so, like,
Yes.
that's scary. So that was a big influence for Grandma, as I wanted her to be scary, but I also, like, wanted to have a mental health aspect to this whole film, because I felt like that's a realistic way to look at trauma and how we grow, and how that influences us from childhood on to adulthood. And
Right.
so I incorporated that as best as I could at the time. And so Relic was a big influence, and then The Shining was obviously a big influence for me. I'm a huge Shining fan. I mean, who isn't? Right? So
Right.
besides Stephen King, and then Uh, yeah.
Right. I know what you're
but
talking about. He was not happy with what Kubrick did.
yeah, and I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I
Yeah.
love the book and the movie separately. It's two different things. So,
Yeah.
but so I would say Relic and The Shining, and then The Exorcist 3 is probably
Ooh.
one of my top 5 of all time as well. And so those are probably the 3 biggest influences for me for this film.
Those those are fantastic influences, and we don't talk about The Exorcist 3 enough because it lives permanently, unfairly in the shadow of the brilliant first Exorcist film. I agree with that.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
I
feel
mean
the
the
same
best
way
jump
about.
scare of all time.
Oh yeah, I feel the same way about Psycho 2, the one they made in the '80s, where I'm like, it's okay. The first Psycho is a masterpiece, but the second Psycho, don't sleep on it. It does some things too.
Okay,
Wow.
I gotta check it out. I actually haven't seen Psycho 2. I haven't seen
Uh,
that.
Yeah, this is the original actor comes back, Anthony Perkins. This is one of his last films before he passed away in the '80s of HIV, which is quite sad.
Yeah.
But he comes back and he's out of the mental hospital and he's back at the motel. So,
Okay. Nice. Yeah, I gotta
yeah,
check that out. I didn't. I've never. Yeah, I've been sleeping on it. So.
yeah, it's pretty good. Well, I absolutely was impressed with so many things in the film. First of all, the scares were legit, the production values were fantastic, and dare I say it, and I know this is a bit of a pat on the back, but the editing was crisp, was perfect. It was almost like you had prior editing experience doing this, if you want
A
to
little
talk
bit.
about that. Just a smidge, right?
Yeah. So I mean, that editing has always paid my bills. This was my first feature film, but I mean, I've been editing since 2009
Oh,
professionally, and so I started like editing features in 2018, I think 2018, and then but before that, I taught myself editing through YouTube. I was completely self-taught, and then I did a lot of commercial work off and on, and then now I'm just editing features a lot, and then hopefully my own to continue from here on out.
wow.
So yeah.
Wow. I mean, I don't have any experience with editing like that. I mean, I edit this podcast. I'm kind of a one-man band playing the trumpet, the guitar, the harmonica, and the drum all at once in the street corner with this. So I do editing of
That's how you know
this,
you're
but
good, man.
oh, that's too nice. So yeah, and I mean, I put my heart into it, but I can say from observing, I have friends that have gone into the industry that do their own editing, and it is meticulous, it is exhausting, it is literally God is in the details. It's like the film is nebulous, the editing is what actually makes it a masterpiece. I know that Tarantino used an editor for all of his films until she passed away. I know that not Miller, what's his name?
Scorsese.
Scorsese, yes, directs and edits his own stuff. Can you tell me a little bit about the type of patience it takes to spend so much time looking and relooking? I mean, do you do a lot of takes, or are you thinking in the editing room, it's going to be me that's going to be editing this? I don't want to go through a Kubrickian 70 takes of this one scene.
Yeah. Well, okay, so that's multifaceted. So
Yeah.
one, I would do as many takes as I could get if I felt the scene needed it for sure. But we did have a very small budget for this film, 500,000, and so we were limited in the number of takes we could do just to make our days and stay under budget. But that said, like being an editor absolutely helps in the filmmaking process for this because one, I knew what I needed. I knew what would scenes and shots together. So it definitely helped in the storyboarding and the shot listing process, and just on the day knowing what else I needed to pick up. So that made it incredibly efficient. So and luckily, again, after we wrapped, I just jumped right into the edit and knew exactly what I wanted. And so that made it real quick. I mean, after we wrapped, we shot from October to November of 2022 for
Okay.
23 days. And I had a full rough cut by January 1st. So, which was nuts for most people. But again, I knew what I wanted. I knew what I had. And, we went from there. I mean, we didn't end up picture locking for another year, which is good. But we cut 30, almost 40 minutes out of the film. So, we ended up overshooting. But no, being an editor absolutely helped a ton. And then, I mean, you got to love editing. If you're going to be an editor, you have to love it. You really have to. Otherwise, it will bog you down. So many takes, so many angles, so many infinite ways of putting it together, especially for documentary films. And I've done my fair share of those. But even for narrative, again, there's an infinite number of ways you could tell this story. And so you just got to love it. So, and I really do love it.
Wow, that's impressive. 30, 40 minutes out of your film. Were there any, did it feel like you were cutting off your arm? I get it because you're trying to fit it within an acceptable time frame, obviously. But were there like things that you had to cut out where you were just like, I feel like I'm cutting off my arm here?
Absolutely. They call it killing your darlings, and it really does feel like that. I mean, and what's tough is because, I co-wrote this with my co-writer Paul Peterson, and
Yeah.
every moment, we wrote the script, he joined in in 2018, and it took us 4 years, COVID notwithstanding, to get the script in a place that we wanted. We finally got great feedback on Blacklist. We won Screamfest with the script. It did really well. And then, we go to make it. And so every line of dialogue, every moment felt intentional and purposeful, and it made sense of the story. And of course, when we go to film it, I still feel that way. I'm like, this is exactly what we need. Film's 2 hours and 15 minutes long, 2 hours and 20 minutes long. And of course, as my debut feature, like I can't get away with that, unfortunately. And as much as I'd like to keep it in there. And even then cutting 40 something minutes out of it, it still feels too long to some people. But at the same time, I see feedback, and it's all valid. I love all the feedback, positive or negative, that like, oh, why did Charlie do this? Or why did Nick do this? And I'm like, we wrote that in, we wrote an explanation or better perspective on that, but we had to take it out. And so, yeah, it is killing your darlings, and learning to just accept that, and hoping that people see the context or the subtext of why these characters make the decisions they make. But ultimately, it is what it is. One day, I hope to have these deleted scenes out that will show more of why Charlie made the decisions she made, show more of the the relationship between her and Dr. Beaumont, her therapy, and other things like that. But it is what it is, and I've just learned to live with it. And so it'll definitely influence me going forward for sure.
That's awesome. That's perfectly explained. I think that nails it completely. I know I've got a little bit off track on one thing I did want to bring up at the beginning of this podcast. It's I like to research as much as I can about all my guests. I call it kind of slightly cyber stalking you, because I want to be a little bit informed about who's coming on and what your likes and dislikes are and where your career has taken you until the moment you come on the podcast. And one thing I found about you, I was like, I had to do a double take. Can you tell me your birthday? What is the specific date of your birthday?
April 27th, 1988.
So's mine. So's mine.
Oh, really?
Not
wow.
the same year, but yeah, I'm an April 27th guy as well.
Wow, that's so cool. That's so, like, I never meet a lot of people with April birthdays, so
yeah,
that's so awesome.
Yeah, so I'm
the
like,
same day. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and so yeah, that's just a weird little thing that I was like, no way. So anyway, every time I have a birthday, I'll be thinking of JC somewhere. I hope he's having a good one too. So,
Good. Same. I'll be thinking of you, Joe.
Cool. I appreciate it. So you took the finished product to some film festivals. Obviously, that's what you do with indie horror or any indie film. And you're looking for investors. You're looking for people to look at your finished product. And please tell me if I have this wrong. I've never taken a film to a festival. I'm not a filmmaker, but you win the audience award at the Austin Film Festival, which is pretty cool. Can you tell me any of your festival experiences, the positive ones, some of the best reactions you've had?
Oh man, so yeah, Austin was an incredible experience. It's such a cool and well-regarded festival. We were so thankful to be there. And yeah, we won the audience award, best horror at Austin, and that was great. And then every festival after that, we only played a handful. We were trying to be very strategic as much as we possibly could. We played at Cleveland and Omaha, El Dorado, and then we played at another small festival. We played at Waco. So like a lot of the state capital festivals, we played at those, or big state city festivals, and they've all been incredible. Like the independent film audience is, you know, more vibrant and excited than ever, and I couldn't be more grateful to the people who showed up and then showed up loud and proud, and it was a great experience. One interesting thing that I had at pretty much every festival, there was only one festival we played at where we didn't have any technical issues, and I was like, but every single one was very different, and I kept thinking there's something wrong with our export, but no, it was just every festival just accidentally had like something wrong every single time.
Oh
It
no.
was like the worst. So I kept thinking this film is cursed, this film is cursed, but finally our last festival was Waco, and it played perfectly fine. So it was,
Oh, that's good.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But no, they were great.
that's awesome. I really want to move on a little bit. I mean, first of all, the concept of the twin is, and I think you can derive this, of course, I think from the trailer. So these are no spoilers, because everyone listening to this, I do want you to go and watch the twin. It's, if you have Amazon, you can access the Shudder app. If you have AMC Plus and you like watching Walking Dead or Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, you already have the Shudder app rolled into, if you have AMC Plus through Amazon, and I do, which I love. I love the Shudder app almost more than any of the other apps, because I'm big into horror, classic horror, indie horror, and it's got it all. So please think about seeing that, and to incentivize that, we're not going to spoil the film, but we are going to talk about some key concepts. What I really loved was the concept of a twin. The Germans have a word for it, I think, called doppelganger. The English, it's a wraith. But I think this is steeped in Irish folklore, and it's a fetch. Can you tell me a little bit? I mean, your film, I think, wasn't it originally called The Fetch?
Yes, it was called The Fetch. Our distributor changed the title to Our Dismay, so
Yeah.
that's why that happened. Yeah, so it was originally called The Fetch. Technically, originally it was called Hangman from the short film,
Oh, okay.
but during the writing process of converting the short film to the feature, we learned about a fetch. We had no idea what it was until we were doing research, trying to look into folklore and mental health ties to folklore. And one of our good friends, Robbie Miles, who's this really nice Australian producer, introduced us to the concept of a fetch. And he said, like, he's like, have you ever heard of a fetch? I was like, no, that sounds really cool. Just the name sounds cool. It sounds like it's supposed to be in a horror film. And so we did our research and just ran with it. Now, the lore of a fetch, there's not really much to go on. There's the most of the story that you can find about a fetch is just the doctor's fetch, which is a few paragraphs long, and it's about a doctor's wife who sees her husband's doppelganger and knows that it's a sign of coming death. That was it. And so we kind of had carte blanche to just do whatever we wanted with that. And so that's what we did. We applied it to Nicholas's mental state, and because for me, you know, mental health, and especially back before modern medicine and modern psychiatry, you know, people used to tie mental health conditions and traits to hauntings and things like that. And so I thought that would be a perfect combination. And that's pretty much how that came about.
That is awesome. When I saw your film and I wrote in my review, I made a reference to Hamlet, because this is ancient. It goes back centuries. This idea that people who are suffering from grief, people who are suffering from trauma, are susceptible to being haunted or susceptible to being misled by evil influences. And there's a bit, I played Hamlet in college, but I'm not an actor anymore, but there was a bit in Hamlet where he sees the ghost of his father, and his father's ghost, or what appears to be his father's ghost, and we know the story, we've all been in English classes,
Yeah.
says, "Avenge me, your uncle killed me, blah, 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 and he's sleeping with your mom." And he's having a soliloquy and he says these lines. I have them memorized. I know I'm a nerd. He says, "The spirit I have seen may be the devil, and indeed the devil hath power to assume a pleasing shape. Yea, and perhaps out of my weakness and my melancholy, as he is very potent with such spirits, abuses me to damn me. I'll have grounds more relative than this. The play's a thing where I'll now catch the conscience of the king." So he hatches the whole revenge plot based on the fact that he himself is worrying, I'm so grieved about my father's death that how do I know I'm not being haunted, misled, that there's some evil spirits trying to send me over the cliff? That resonated with me. I don't know how that affected anyone else watching this. Maybe it's because of my Shakespeare background, but when I watched your film, that's what I instantly cleaved to. I was like, this concept needs to be more explored in films because this is absolutely ancient in origin. So sorry for that little diatribe there about that, about a little platforming, but I really resonated with that part of your movie. I really did.
Thank you. No, that was incredible. Until you brought that up, I had never made that sort of connection, but I'm so glad that you did. And that's really poetic, and I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, it's going to mean a lot of things to different people. My wife works in the mental health industry, mostly with children, and I'm like, you have to watch this film. You have to watch this film. So
Has she seen it yet?
Well, I think she's watching it right now. I tried to get her watching the other night. I think they're on the other end of the house, and my 16-year-old daughter is with them, and my 10-year-old daughter should be okay. She watches Stranger Things. She won't be too freaked out, but they're all at the other end of the house. They're going to be watching this. So I was hoping to get their reactions before this podcast so I could share them with you, but I think they're going to be blown away.
Yeah. I hope they enjoy it. I hope they enjoy it. We took some liberties. We took liberties, but we try to be true to mental health.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's very good. I also liked, I really want to talk about the casting, because the casting here, folks, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Especially your three main actors in this. And I want to talk a little bit about the casting, how some of these people came to, how you got Logan, how you got Alexa and Robert to play these leads for you. What was your experience casting for this?
Yeah, so it's funny that Alexa and Robert kind of fall into place because of Logan. So we were able to attach Logan in the summer of 2018 when we had very early stages of our feature script, and through our producer Alexander Jeffrey, who happened to have done a class in acting or a stunt class with him years prior, and he suggested Logan would be a great actor to play Nicholas, because we're small, low budget, and we knew that we didn't need a name talent to sell the film. As long as it looked scary, we could sell it. And so we needed to find someone who had like leading potential and could carry this part and play both parts. And so he suggested Logan. We met up with him. We loved him. He loved the script, and he was involved in the process since 2018 all the way up until we wrote it. And so like we kind of started writing it around a little bit of his sensibilities, and he jumped in as a producer. From there, Logan was great friends with Alexa, and he suggested Alexa for Charlie, and that's how we met Charlie. And then the same thing with Robert. He knew Robert through a relationship of his, and we got to meet Robert and talked with him on the phone and sent him the script, and he loved the script, gave us plenty of awesome notes, and we started writing it towards his sensibilities again. And then and that was like 2019, and then we 3 years later that we ended up making the film. So they were Alexa was technically the last one brought on, so but they were all and same thing with Shannon Cochran, who plays Shelby.
Yes.
So we got lucky with meeting Logan. He just happened to know these incredible people. And I mean, as soon as I found out about Robert, I was just like, this is amazing, because I'm a big Mike Flanagan fan, and I was like, this is the guy. He's the guy who does all the great monologues and Mike Flanagan stuff.
Yeah.
And he's so good. He just has such a great on-screen presence. So I was really thankful for that. So Logan helped bring all of those people in.
That is great.
Yeah.
I definitely, I'm really impressed with, I'm familiar with Alexis's work on HBO's Boardwalk Empire. 3 weeks ago, I had a guest from England on this podcast who's written a book And the book takes place, this is just a sidebar. The book takes place in Prohibition America in Atlantic City, largely inspired by the events in Boardwalk Empire. She's a
Okay.
huge Boardwalk Empire fan. She'd be, if she's listening to this, Jeanette, she's written this wonderful book called Trouble in Atlantic City. Yeah, Alexa, who plays Jimmy Darmody's wife in the show, is in this film, in The Twin, playing Charlie. So, and she's great. She's really
She's
good.
incredible.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned Robert Longstreet's work with Mike Flanagan, because I'm like, his performance in Midnight Mass is so
iconic.
Yeah, it's so good. And then tragic, what happens? I don't want to give it away. So
Yeah, don't give it away.
no, I won't give it away. But he's such an earnest and sincere actor on screen. I'm sure you saw all that through the lens. I mean, I'm sure you're seeing all this.
Absolutely. And that's how he is in real life too, that he is exactly what you see on screen is what you get. He's like a genuine, funny, personable, like deep emotional person. And it plays so well on screen. He is a character in real life, and that's what makes him so good on screen. So
Wow.
yeah.
It translates so wonderful. Logan Donovan, your lead, Nicholas, his role, like you said, he plays two roles, and I don't want to go into what those two roles are because that'll kind of spoil it. But the clue is in the title. The clue is in the title.
Yeah.
Big clue, really. He gives such a haunting performance. I mean, it looked like the lived-in performance, like he's been living this. It didn't look like lights, camera, and then I'm into character. It was like, this poor man looks like he's been through the ringer. I mean, his face, the gaunt look on his face, the worry, I mean, he looks like he's carrying the weight of the world on his face. And of course, that tremendous guilt and trauma, and I don't know. His performance carried your film for me, notwithstanding all the other wonderful performances, but his performance was just so good. I mean, was there a lot of work that you had to do with him? Or did he just come fully formed? I mean, he was just ready to go.
I want to say most of the work came from him. Like we brought him on in 2018, almost 2019. And so like he had a lot of time to ingest this story and like think about who Nicholas was. And again, like we wrote around his sensibilities after that as well. And so like, but he really did the work. He put himself in that state. He listened to, certain, he had his process of like things he would watch and things he would read. He would read books about psychology and stuff. So he really tried to understand a person like Nicholas, and it put him in that state. And for him personally, he could say more to it, but I know like it was hard for him to get into that dark place, sure. Especially for someone personally who hadn't experienced that, but to try to see it from their perspective, that's not easy to do. And so we gave him the space to do that. And then by the time we were in pre-production, he and I would jump on the phone, and we'd do Zoom sessions like this to just go over the characters and to go over the script and just talk line by line about what everything meant. But he put in the work. He really did. And I'm very thankful for it, because it definitely came across.
Yeah. I would agree. It's a fantastic performance. You may not recognize Logan Donovan from a lot of things. This is what I would consider one of his bigger starring roles in a film. And after watching this, you will become convinced that this guy needs to start starring in other things, because he's more than capable of carrying it.
He should. He can carry it.
Yeah, he's got great range, doesn't he? I mean,
he does.
Yeah.
And despite the film, he's really funny in real life too. So
okay, good. So right. So we won't. He's the life of the party, just not in the film necessarily. But,
that's right. Yeah.
Got it. Well, JC, I was mightily impressed with your film. I'm interested to watch where your career goes from here. I would like to know, is this the plan to lean more towards directing feature films, or are you thinking maybe I'll get back into full-time editing? Where does your career go from here? Where, in other words, what are you doing next?
Yeah, so no, feature directing is definitely has been my dream, and editing was kind of the road I took to get there. Getting my foot in the door, but no, that's definitely what I'm planning on doing. I do have a few things in the works that I can't like really discuss yet, but there's a couple of things in the works. I'm really excited to get back in the director's chair, like hopefully in the next few months. So fingers crossed. And but yeah, so that's whether the next few things I do have planned are also horror, but that's not necessarily the genre that I want to stay in completely. But I do love horror, and so I'm gonna just play around and see what happens.
Well, I think you have a gift for horror. I don't think horror is easy. I think the horror crowd are tough. I think
Yeah,
right? Yeah, the horror crowd is when you if you can scare the horror crowd, they'll love you. If you can scare the hell out of
yeah.
us, we love you. But they can also be a very persnickety and picky and
It's
right?
it's funny you mentioned that because like everyone talks about this being trauma horror, which it is. I fully
Okay.
accept it
Yeah.
is trauma horror, but I never set out to make a trauma horror film. I just wanted to make a movie about a guy haunted by his own evil doppelganger, and it became this. It kind of morphed into that, and so it's so funny when people are like, "Ah, another trauma horror." I'm like, "Yeah, but I get it." But horror fans watch every horror movie, so for them, it's just like they've seen this 1,000 times. And I'm a big horror fan, and I don't watch every movie. So for me, I'm like, okay, I get it. I accept it. But I totally understand. It's a totally valid response. It's just funny. Like I never set out to make that. It just is what it is. But it's just funny how it all works out.
Watching this film, and I should have mentioned it in my review, because this also resonated with me. It reminded me a lot of it reminded me of Twin Peaks, the
Oh,
TV
yeah.
show from the late 80s, early 90s, the doppelganger, the other, the
Yeah.
fetch, as it were.
My wife
Um,
loves Twin Peaks. Yeah.
oh, really? Oh, well,
Oh
I don't
yeah.
want to spoil it. It's only been out for 40 years, listeners. Um, but there is certainly a similarity with one of the main characters in Twin Peaks that is absolutely like what happens in The Twin. And oh yeah, Twin Peaks is
Yeah.
I think my all-time favorite TV show. I'm a big Twin Peaks fan. Um,
That's fantastic. Yeah.
that's great. I mean, you obviously have a gift for horror, like those opening scenes, and even getting sorry, not Landon, Logan. I'm thinking Landon Donovan, the other show. But yeah, so even getting the soccer player, not Landon Donovan, um, uh, I mean, everything about it, the mise en scene, the angles, the cuts. Um, there's so much that goes into making horror excellent and memorable that the amount of people that get it wrong is staggering. And your film, The Twin, got so much of it right. And like I said, I think the horror crowd is brutal in their expectations. But when you get it right, they love you. So I don't know.
Well, so far, I mean, again, I've had so many great responses and people that loved it and it resonated with them. People, with mental health, a history of mental health, or who have been affected by mental health, that loved it and they felt that it resonated with them. So that's what was really important to me, and I'm happy that we touched and connected with those people. And that's at the end of the day, we scared people, and we connected with people. We made some people cry, and so I'm happy.
Cool. That is awesome. Listen, JC, thanks so much for your time this morning. Your film
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. Your film needs to be seen. Like I said, it was released on the Shudder app in 2025 this year. This is a fresh film to watch. You're going to enjoy this. You're going to be scared by it, but I don't want to give it away. I loved your ending.
Good.
Yeah? Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, your ending, I really loved the ending, and it took it in a place that not a lot of traditional horror these days go. I'm not going to say any more than that. I really want you to take it in for our listeners out there. Take it in yourself. It's called The Twin, directed by JC Doler, who is my guest today on the Fixate Binge podcast. You co-wrote the story, you directed the film. It's your debut feature film. and you also edited your own work. So I'm so impressed.
Thank you. And real quick, just mentioning that though, like again, we were a small budget, $500,000, and I know my name is plastered all over it, but like we could not have done this without our incredible crew that came in and like they worked their asses off, just like dedicated so much love and time to this, and like we had just so many people wearing multiple hats. And so, you know, as an indie filmmaker, like you can't do it without a crew that cares about you and cares about the film. And so, you know, take care of your crew, take care of your make sure they're well fed and make sure they're paid on time. And that's what we tried to do. And I'm so thankful that people showed up and helped us do this. So it wasn't me, you know, I could not have done it without them. So
I'll bet. What was the day? 22, 23 days of filming?
23 days, which is crazy for an independent film. We just happened to do a lot of pre-production, like personal, like off the payroll pre-production that me and my producers did voluntarily. And then so we planned it to a T, and we made our days, and yeah, we got lucky.
That's impressive. 23 days flat. Well, I'm sure the crew you worked with, I know you'd probably love to work with them when they're that committed to do something of this caliber in only 23 days with a budget, as you said, of that size, which by today's standards, that's not a big budget for what JC has put together here. Not at all. That's amazing.
Some films spend that much in one day of their production. So.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, JC, I wish you all the best. I'm going to continue watching your career. I'd love to see what you come up with next. And I think you have a gift for horror. I know you want to go into other genre. What sort of genre of films would you like to do?
Sci-fi. I'm a huge sci-fi fan, and so I'd really love to do sci-fi or I'm obviously I love drama, as you can see from the film.
Yeah.
I kind of got my start writing drama. Yeah, sci-fi or drama.
Wow.
But, yeah.
Well, I'm sure you'll excel at both. I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast. Please stay in touch with us. The next time something comes out, I'd love to have you back. This was great.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Thank you. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Fixate Binge podcast. I'll be back next week. I've got some more directors. I've got some more actors. I've got some more films to talk about. And I know you're going to continue to enjoy what I have to say next. Before we leave, this is something I do in every podcast, but given the subject matter of my guest and his film today, I always like to leave with a positive mental note. And the positive mental note is not necessarily profound. It's just me saying, please be nice to yourself. When you wake up in the morning and you look at yourself in the mirror, please be nice to the person looking back at you. Life is hard. We're all struggling. We're all struggling. Sorry, my voice cracked. We're all struggling. Maybe most of us didn't have all of our dreams come true. You're doing your best, and be gentle with yourself, okay? Love who you are, okay? All right, well, I don't have any more to say to that before it starts to sound like a Hallmark greeting card. We'll see you next week. Thanks again. Bye-bye.